Hi.
Hello.
Here we are.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. So, thank you so much for joining me. It's very much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, first of all, under the circumstances, obviously, with Trevor's sad passing, I want to also welcome you back to the band.
Thank you.
So, Servitude comes out on the 27th of September. And obviously, there's kind of like three milestones with this because one, it's your first album since Abysmal in
Hmm.
2015. It's the first one following Trevor's sad passing, and it's also the 10th studio album as well.
Right.
So, how do you feel about this new era of the Black Dahlia murder?
Um, I mean, I feel like it's like unfortunate that it had to obviously like unfold this way, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, for lack of better word, it just kind of just is what it is, you know? It's what people say,
Yeah,
you know? There's just kind of like we're just working with what we got. But like, I mean, it is like I guess exciting in some ways. Like I feel like the thing that's come out of this is, I mean, like, I feel like we've had to sort of like persevere through this because it's, obviously just everything that's happened. But like, I mean, Brian's had like the mountain decline,
yeah,
he's had to like take on the vocal duties. He's kind of like figured out how to be he's got to figure out how to be the front man, drop his guitar on stage, just kind of, he's got to talk to the people.
hmm
But, other than that, I feel like this is the first record where you have essentially the three guys that have written basically all the stuff over the past nine records.
yeah,
So I feel like that's kind of like a new, maybe kind of exciting thing to where like I feel like on this record you kind of have like the full spectrum of influences, maybe
yeah.
is the what I would say. And we kind of have like this, we have two lead guitar players in the band, which is that's a cool thing, like we can I think of bands like Thin Lizzy or Iron Maiden, of course, or Judas Priest. There's like this whole thing that we can kind of do now. And I've told other people this. I think it'll take another record or two for us to sort of evolve that whole
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, it's just I'm rambling, but I feel like yeah, these are like I feel like these are all like sort of kind of exciting things that we kind of have to work with despite like, the loss we've suffered.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to ramble. I'm all for rambling, so
Okay.
don't worry about that at all.
All
As
good.
much detail as possible, that's
Right.
fine. So, walk me through kind of what happened then. Obviously, when you got the call asking you to come back to the band, is that what happened?
Hmm. I mean, basically, in a nutshell, the way it all like happened is one day I was at work and I got a call from Kareem, who's our previous tour manager, who now handles a lot of our like merchandise and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I mean, I text with Kareem every now and then, but getting a call from him is kind of weird. So I went outside and took the call, and he kind of like told me what had happened with Trevor, and obviously that was I was just like in utter shock. Just,
Yeah.
can't believe it. It's even still like shocking to me. I still feel like I haven't like just processed it. It's just a crazy thing. Um, and then, I'm sure I just like a lot of the rest of the world and probably even some members of the band were just like, well, I'm just kind of like wondering in my mind, I wonder what's what's next, you know?
Yeah.
And then probably about a month later, Brian gave me a call and he's like, hey, like we've been talking about it. We want to keep the band going. I'm going to switch over to vocals. And he asked if I wanted to come back into the band. And it kind of, the way it all kind of worked out was, um, I told someone this earlier is like, it just kind of like, it was kind of like the first time I entered the band, like the star, there's very few instances I feel like in people's lives where like the stars just kind of like align
Yeah.
and like the opportunity that is presented to you kind of works with what is happening with you anyway.
Hmm.
And by that, what I mean is that I was living in Nashville, Tennessee at the time, and me and my wife were expecting our son. a few months later, and my wife is originally from Detroit Metro, where the band is from. Um, so we were kind of considering moving back to Michigan because all my wife's family's here. So when Brian called me, I was like, well, we're considering moving back to Michigan anyway. And so a year later, we moved back to Michigan, and it was kind of like, I already had like a job waiting on me. So it kind of just was almost like a natural thing, I guess, to happen.
Yeah. Awesome. So what can you tell me about Servitude? What was the writing and recording process like?
hmm the writing part of it essentially worked the way it kind of always does, where like when I joined the band, we basically when became time to record an album, Brian was just like, "Hey, I'll write about half of it, you write about half of it." And then,
Yeah.
when I left, when Brandon joined the band, same thing with them, like Brandon write about half, Brian write about half. So this time, since we have three guys writing, Brian was just like, "How about we just do 9 songs and we all just write like a third of the record?" So that's basically how it happens. And we all just kind of like go to our home studios. We will write a song, we'll demo the whole thing out with drums. So essentially, like by the time we send a song, it's completely, you can, other than vocals over it, it's completely done. Everybody can
Yeah.
kind of hear it. Everybody will kind of give their take. A lot of times nothing's changed at all. And if anything's changed, it's usually like really small stuff. And then after we spent probably like maybe 6 months writing everything. Then we went to Nashville, Tennessee, tracked all the drums with Mark Lewis, who we've worked with many times before.
Yeah.
Um, then Brandon did all the guitars, vocals, and bass at his place in New Jersey. And then mixed it back in Nashville with Mark. Brandon pretty much oversaw the whole thing. So he was probably insane by the end because I was feeling insane by the end, and if I was, Brandon definitely was. But yeah, that's pretty much how it all, played out.
Awesome. So are there any particular tracks on this album that you're really proud of, or do you have any favorites?
Um, I think I think all the tracks are really good, and just that I think you can kind of see a little bit of everybody's personality in the songs. I mean, personally for me, uh, I like the song "Manless Hand" that we put out about a month ago. I wrote that song during COVID, and it wasn't even really meant to be a Black Dahlia song, just because it's so different. But when it came time to write the record, I was like, "Hey, I got this song." And I showed it to Brian. I was like, "I don't know if you think it'll work," and Brian was like, "No, I like it." And and it kind of ended up being just something kind of really completely different that kind of ended up working. I think it may be actually the slowest song in the entire band's catalog.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm just anytime we're able to like put out something that's just like really a little bit different and people kind of seem like they enjoyed it, I'm on board. So, but overall, I think all the songs are good. But
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed about that particular track when I was listening to Servitude. It is quite a standout track because I wouldn't go as far to say it's slow, but it is slower. It's kind of
yeah,
got that very heavy, kind of trudging kind of pace to it.
right, right. It's like I feel like if you spend enough time in this band, what you consider slow is very off to,
I
to
know.
the to other people. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So yeah, you're right though. It probably isn't as slow as I perceive it to be.
No, I think just compared to the rest of the album, I suppose
Right.
it would
Yeah.
be slower. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
So, where do you get your inspiration and ideas from?
Um, for me personally, just really just anything. I feel like there's like you know, most of the metal I like is like the older American stuff. I like a lot of metal, but a lot of the stuff that I gravitate to is obviously a lot of the Swedish stuff like Carcass or
Hmm.
Old In Flames, Dissection, anything from um that sort of scene. And then obviously like Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica, just Judas Priest, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like the metal stuff is just kind of in there. I don't even have to really like think about that too much. It's just kind of
Yeah.
swimming around in there. but really anything, just any kind of music. It could literally be like bossa nova, just anything that's inspiring. I'm not saying that like I will use that in a song, but just really
Yeah.
anything that was like, wow, this is great. This is inspiring. I should try to write something cool too, you know. So
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. So you guys are heading out on tour in October, at the beginning
hmm
of October. Are you all set for that? Are you ready for the tour?
yeah, it's gonna be a good tour. So with Dying Fetus, also Angel Maker, Spite, and Vomit Forth. So it should hopefully draw like a good array of different types of fans. But and yeah, I think we're ready. You know, we just spent about 6 weeks over in Europe, and by the time we tour, we'll only have been home like a month. So I kind of like that because everything is still very fresh in our minds. So
Yeah.
usually to get really back up to speed playing everything, it doesn't take very long. So yeah, yeah, we're definitely ready to cut loose.
Awesome. So what are the best and worst things about touring for you?
Probably the worst is just being away from, you know, your family. I mean, for me personally, since I have kids, but just that and you know, touring's fun. Don't get me wrong, but like there's definitely hard part. It's I feel like it's not what most people think it is. It's
Yeah.
really boring a lot of times. Like you,
Yeah, a lot
there's
of
like
people
a
say that actually.
yeah, it's like there's a lot of downtime. Um, can be really boring at times. And you know, like I don't know, it just depends on any given day. There's things you can run into that are just, you know, uh you could just be uncomfortable at times, I guess.
Yeah,
Cool,
so
but
you were talking about, with the bands that you're touring with, hopefully that'll bring in kind of like a large array of like different kinds of fans and things like that. And from what I've seen online so far, the reception for the singles that you guys have released from Servitude has been really quite positive.
hmm
Are you worried about any kind of skepticism or criticism or anything like that going forward?
um personally for me, like not really. I mean, you know, this will be my fifth record with the band. I feel like you kind of develop thick skin in a way, you
Yeah,
know? Like there's always going to be like some negative things. Like there'll be some people that just like they just won't like it no matter what, you know?
yeah,
But like it's like you can't please everybody as the old saying goes, you
yeah,
know? So like I don't worry about it too much. Um and like yeah, like you know, the two singles we've already put out, like the response has just been so good. I think he maybe even has surpassed what we were expecting, honestly.
yeah.
So like we've been very happy with the response, and I feel like if people like these two singles, even if they like these two singles a little bit, then I think they're really gonna like the whole record. So yeah, I'm not too
Yeah.
worried about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the singles on their own are amazing, but
Thank you.
hearing them in context with the rest of the album and how the rest of the album flows, it just makes them even better. So I'm really excited to see what people think about it.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, it's like I've been living with this record now for like, you know, almost like a year. So I'm just like even though we're like it's almost out, it's just like it's just dragging by, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, who would you say were your favorite bands in the metal scene at the moment?
Um for me, I always say Carcass is always one of my answers just because I just love Carcass. They're just such a great band. Just they're just classic and I just like everything about them. So they're always in that answer. But other than
Yeah.
them, I like Gojira a lot. They're kind of like a
hmm
band that like I've known of them forever. And I mean like I feel like there was a time years back where like we were like on festivals with them and they would be like coming on stage as we were getting off
Yeah.
and so I've like been or even been around them a lot, but I only kind of like checked them out like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and like yeah, they're a great band. They're like probably like even though like I said like they've been around for a while, they're like to me they're newer just because I had not checked them out. So I think they're like a
Yeah.
great band. And then you know when they just did the whole Olympics thing, I thought that was badass.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And once again, not a new band, but I was checking out the new Judas Priest record, and I thought it's really, really
Yeah.
badass too. So yeah, like that's kind of what I got for right
Yeah,
now, anyway.
awesome. I mean, when you mentioned that Gojira performance at the Olympics this year, that was a huge moment, not just for the band. I mean, obviously it was a huge moment for the band, but I think for the metal scene in
Hmm.
general and the metal world.
Yes.
Is that something that you would like to do at some point? Something on that grander scale?
I would love to play the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
gonna happen, but but no, that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I would love to just do any of that type of stuff. It's like, to me, like since we're like sort of like a death metal band, it's just like honestly, like of course these things pop in your mind, but I'm like, yeah, we're never gonna be able to do that. But like, like even playing on like Jimmy Kimmel or like a,
Yeah.
a talk show or something, that would just be awesome. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Slipknot did it,
Yeah, yeah,
they
right.
played
Yeah, and
on
they're
a
pretty
talk show years
extreme.
ago, so yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's great. I feel like it's really great that Gojira was able to, do that thing with the Olympics, and it's just like it's great for people, just the main, people just mainstream
Yeah,
sort of audience, just to see something like that, because it only helps like everyone else. So yeah, that's awesome.
that's awesome. So, what would you say has been one of your biggest moments in your career so far that really stands out for you?
Um, I guess really just like joining the band initially, and just like everything um I've just been able to like accomplish within it. I mean, like when I was a kid, like like I feel like my goals were, I wanted to put out some records, I wanted to go to Tokyo, Japan, and I wanted to like go to Europe,
Yeah.
maybe, you know, and like all those goals were accomplished like well over 10 years ago now. So it's like, well, shit, I need like some new goals. It's like, so like, anyway, I say that just to say that like so many things I ever wanted to do and dreamed of as a kid, like I've been able to do in the band. And that's like really like at the end of the day is like all I can ask for. I honestly like, I just like right now in the past, like I just, even though like yeah, we have to go on tour and I have to be away, I like that the band kind of like, when I come home, I can kind of just be home. I can like hang out with my kids, or I can like
Yeah.
play guitar, or I can like write other music. So like yeah, I like that like the band like kind of just allows me to do those things. I think yeah, so that, I guess that would be it.
Yeah. That's cool. So, last question before I let you go. If you could put together your own dream festival of five bands or artists, living or dead, who would you put together?
Oh
And you can
wow.
include yourself if you want as well into the bill.
Hmm. Um, five bands. Oh, one would be Nirvana, and I would replace Pat Smear and play second guitar. So
There.
that would be one.
Yeah.
Um, ELO would be on the show.
Cool.
ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, they would
Yeah.
be on the show. Yeah. Pantera, because why not? Come on.
Yeah.
They're
This
they're the
version of Pantera or original Pantera?
original Pantera. Yeah,
Original
original
Pantera.
Pantera.
Yeah.
Never got to see them. That would be cool.
Same. Yeah.
This would be like the weirdest fest ever.
The weirder, the better. I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
some weird answers to this question before. Don't worry.
yeah. The Traveling Wilburys, that group, that super group that had like Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne from ELO, Roy Orbison, uh,
That's a bit of a curveball.
George Harrison. Them, just put them on it, just
Yeah.
because that's awesome. Why not? And the band Jellyfish that only made two records, and they were badass,
Wow.
and then they just quit. So
I've never
basically,
heard of that band before.
yeah, they're really great. They kind of are like a mix between like, they're kind of like a mix between Queen and then like ELO and the Beatles. They have all that cool. It's
Hmm.
like pop music, but it's like smart pop music. And you know
Yeah.
what? I don't care. I'm throwing one more band.
Go for it.
Queen can be there too. Original Queen,
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury
Oh,
Queen. So basically, my fest is basically like a few metal bands, and then like a lot of really cool progressive pop rock bands, sort of.
Awesome.
They're
I'm
really
here for it.
awesome melodies and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
That would be an amazing stage show, especially if you're going to be ending with Queen. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
right. Yeah, that would be really great. I think a
Oh,
lot
I
of
want to
people
go.
would be happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I want a ticket to that. Where can I sign up?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What would you like to say to the fans?
I just want to like thank everyone that if you've been to a show on our past trip over there, awesome, thank you. We will be back over to Scotland and mainland Europe, whoever's listening. I'm sure we're going to come to wherever you probably are. So thanks for
I hope
coming
so.
out if you come out. Pick up Servitude if you haven't already. And honestly, even if you don't pick it up, just like give it a like listen to it on YouTube or Spotify or Tidal or whatever it is you listen to it on. Just check it out. So yeah, just thanks to everybody.
Awesome. I'm so looking forward to seeing the reception of this new album because I've listened to it I've lost count of how many times over the
Oh,
weekend, if I'm
cool.
going to be honest with you, and I'm so excited. So, yeah, best of luck.
Great. Thank you. And thanks for having me.
No problem.